We needed to drill some large diameter holes to get material to do the metallurgical test work. So we drilled 5 holes. That was April last year, March, April last year. And they came back 20% higher grade. And we went, oh, that's nice.
Hello, welcome to Assay TV. Today I'm joined by Alan Pangbourne, who is President and CEO of Chesapeake Gold. Chesapeake Gold are working on the Metates gold and silver project in Durango, Mexico. The company completed a PEA in 2021, which showed a very compelling initial business case. Alan, great to see you today. We're going to be talking today about some drilling results you've just put out. As I mentioned, you've done that PEA last year, which was showed some amazing figures. What's the purpose of the infill drilling campaign?
It was serendipity. So when we took over the company and came in with the new concept, which is what's in the PFF or PEA, which is the PEA case, we needed to drill some large diameter holes to get material to do the metallurgical test work. So we drilled 5 holes. That was April last year, March, April last year. And they came back 20% higher grade. And we went, oh, that's nice. So we went back to the board and said, can I have some of the money we've got in the bank and put in my budget to go and drill some infill holes around those to try and understand whether it was just a fluke, or something else going on. And so we developed a program of 16 holes and we added a couple more into it. And we drilled both up and down dip of the intrusive part of the ore body and stepped it out a bit as well to get a feel for, is that 20% consistent? Because if it is, that's significant, because you go from 1.0 gold silver equivalent to potentially up to 1.2. We've got to rebuild the model and do all the math and stuff to work out what it all means. But the initial results show that there is a potentially increasing grade of the overall intrusive and intrusive breccia ore body. And on top of that, some of the intercepts were thicker and higher grade than we expected. So that's all positive. But it really was serendipitous. It wasn't planned. We were doing it for something else to get the material for the met test work. We went ahead, drilled those extra holes. We got results that we're obviously very happy about, because, as I said, it goes straight to the bottom line when the grade goes up, because the tons I treat doesn't change, the size hole doesn't change, the plant I'm going to build doesn't change. It's not like I've got more ore and I'm going to build a bigger plant and mine it quicker or mine it longer. It's all in the same hole. So it's a terrific answer. And so, that now we will rebuild the geologic model, rebuild the block model to understand exactly what it means to the resource. That will then feed into the PFS. The other thing we need to do next is to complete the first phase of the metallurgical test work that is ongoing. And there's been a few press releases over the last year and a bit that showed some pictures of some pretty columns going from gray to brown, which is the material oxidizing. And I've now got 16 or something columns running in an independent laboratory here in Vancouver. And as we finish a column, we reload it with the next parameter that we're testing, and that's all ongoing in the background. When I get the new block model and the met test work, that will feed into a PFS towards the end of this year, early next year. And that, hopefully, what our aim is, and the way the test work program is put together, is to try and confirm the assumptions that we had in the PEA. So as I can convert it from a PEA to a PFS. The geology and the grades, obviously with these, 21 holes in total or something, the grade's going to go up. Potentially the intrusive total tonnage will go up a little bit. that's all positive again to feed into that PFS. Yeah, and so we'll put all that together and come out with a PFS sometime in.
Excellent. So why do you think, I mean, 22% is quite a large increase on the grades there. Why do you think there's such a difference between the results you're finding and the results previously modeled?
That's a great question, and we're not really sure. We've gone back and checked the obvious things around biases or splits or what have you, change of control because you're using a bigger diameter core and lower diameter core. And the interesting thing when we did that, the core holes they drilled previously in Chesapeake and then way back in Cambior, they were using half core, but it was a smaller core. And when you work out your kilos per meter, it's actually not far off. Quarter core of PQ is the same as half core of whatever the right letter is for the next size down. I'm not a geologist, I'm a metallurgist. We can talk metallurgy all day. And so it's not that. So we're not really sure. And that's the other reason we went back and drilled more, because it's like, that's interesting. The one thing that we did do that was different was we made sure that the holes were drilled perpendicular to the ore body. Yeah, so the ore bodies dip in like this, they were as close to 90 degrees as we could get them, rather than all the previous holes were straight up, down, and vertical. And so this time in the program, we haven't gone back through and done all the work yet on what it means. That's still to be done, but some of the holes we deliberately drilled oriented core, so that when we got it, we can see whether the subset veins within the flow, because these intrusives tend to have a structure to them, they have a flow pattern to them. And so sometimes you'll see cross veins or parallel veins that are higher grade than the others. And so by taking oriented core, we can understand the orientation and the flow direction of that intrusive, and then understand whether the vertical holes or the cutting holes, what it all means. So we still got to do that bit. That's getting into way too much detail for some of the investors.
Absolutely. Yeah. So what are the next steps? You mentioned that you've been doing some metallurgical test work as well, and that's going to be tied together into a PFS. When would you hope to have a PFS sort of on the way?
So we're hoping to have the first round of the test work completed and have enough assays to be able to put it into the market. I'm hoping to get it before the end of Q3, because I want to be able to talk about it at a conference. Yeah, there's a significant gold conference in September, I'm sure you're aware of. And so we're aiming for that. And that, the way we set up the test work program, we started with what we assumed in the PEA, right? So as I could have test work that says, this matches what I assumed or is better or slightly worse or whatever, it's around the same area. And then I can produce a PFS whilst I keep doing more and more test work to have all the information that I need to have for a feasibility study, because the level of test work is way higher for an FS than a PFS. Yeah. And so the second phase of the test work will start looking at all of the various levers: crush it finer, crush it coarser, longer, shorter, higher, lower, whatever. And also, most importantly for the feasibility study and the plans that come out of that, variability. So that's the other thing these extra holes and the core from them give me is material for variability testing. So I'll be able to build what they call a geometallurgical model. The difference between that and the geological model is a geological model generally only has grades, geology, and dollar values in it. A geometallurgical model adds recoveries, generally, metallurgical performance. So if it's a flotation model, it will have concentrate grades and recoveries. In our case, it will just have metal recoveries for the leach process. And so it's important that we build that, so as we understand what we're going to see year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, and so on.
Absolutely. Now, because the processing is a very important component of your sort of business case, and how
Yes.
you've been able to really sort of, you know, reduce the capex and make this project sort of really come alive, so to speak.
Well, there's two things in what you just said. The first one is obviously anytime you can reduce the capex from 3+ billion to 300, 400 million, that makes the world so much calmer. And it also gives us a project that a company our size, I don't need to go and find a Barrick or a Newmont or whoever to come and help me do it. That's something we can do ourselves as a starter project and then expand and expand and expand, because the resource is massive. Yeah. And so we're actually starting quite small. And some people have said, why so small? And it comes back to, if you honestly want to build this, you have to have a project that you can fund and build. So don't kid yourself. Yeah. If you look at my background, I'm a builder and I'm an operator. I've been doing that my entire career. And that's what I want to do with this. And so there's some things that we're doing that you won't see other juniors doing. And it's for the simple reason, the fat lady's going to sing when I start this thing up. Yeah. And I want to be sure I'm right.
Well, you know, let's just remind our viewers, you know, this isn't, as you've mentioned a little bit before, this isn't your first rodeo. You've built projects before and taken them through to production. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Sure. So, you know, I spent quite a long time in BHP, predominantly in South America. I was the project director for the Spence Copper project in 2002 through 2006. And, you know, took it through feasibility study and then built it and started it up and then handed it over to the ops team. And that's important because some of the concepts and the underlying concepts behind the process we're applying, Spence was the biggest single sulfide heap leach that was built in one go in Chile. And that's not in the world. That shows that you can oxidize sulfides and get the metals. Yeah, they were treating 50,000 tons a day and producing 200,000 tons a year of copper by oxidizing copper sulfides and pyrite and getting the copper metal back with SXEW. It was $1 billion project back then. It would cost you 3 to 4 billion today. But I've seen the technology develop over the years since the early 90s when I first went to Chile and I saw the original operation at Putumayo, which then went on to be used at Quebrada Blanca and Cerro Colorado and Cerro Verde in Peru and today there's probably a couple of million to 3 million tons a year of copper produced using exactly the same concepts of oxidizing sulfides in a heap leach environment in a controlled chemistry. And that's exactly what we're trying to do in the gold business. And if you look through the details in the PEA and you look through our presentation in the flow sheet, there are things that there's actually a slide in there somewhere that compares a copper heap leach to a gold heap leach and says 3-stage half-inch crushing plant, same. On-off heap leach pad, same. Acid versus alkali, okay, granted that's different, but building pads and moving solution around, it's the same. Use of an agglomerating drum, same, and so on all the way through. Merrill Crowe instead of SXEW. Merrill Crowe's been around since 1930 or something. So it's not exactly new technology. Yeah. And so really the only thing that's new, the fundamentals are the same. The bit that's new is it's an alkali approach rather than an acid approach. But even using an alkali to leach metals out of rock in a heap leach is not new. The uranium industry has been doing it for a long time. They use sodium carbonate or sulfuric acid to leach uranium out of the ore bodies. So a lot of people are concerned. It's new. It's never been done before. Not true. It's never been done before in the gold part of the mining industry. Yeah. And even then, large parts of it have been done, even in the gold industry. Have they built heap leaches? Yes. They built crushing plants? Yes. They built Merrill Crows? Yes. Do they know how to do on-off pads? Yes. Okay. So the only bit they don't know how to do is to oxidize sulfides. They even know how to handle alkali solutions because they do it at pH 10.5 for the cyanide. You can't put cyanide in an acid solution. Yeah. So, there's a bit of a concern, but the proof will be in the pudding. When I get my met test work results in Q3, Q4 this year, I'll be able to hopefully stand there and say, PEA said this. There's the backup material for that. Some people will be happy with that. Some people will never be happy. Yeah.
Okay, but you've had the exploration results have come out nicely. So we're looking forward later in the year to the network coming back the same, and then hopefully a PFS down the track from that. So busy year ahead for the company. But thank you very much for joining us today for this update on Chesapeake Gold.
Thank you, Leo. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Alan.